here we go. We're in the planning phase now. And what I did is over a 2-week period, planned 3 learning experiences over that 2-week period. And that mainly because Ella didn't attend every day. And so I needed more time. So I needed 2 weeks in order to get the activities done properly. But in addition to that, there were 2 more incidental activities that came up as well. So I started with just a very basic one-on-one book reading with Ella of the story of the 3 Little Pigs. And what I wanted to do here is I wanted to practice taking on a role of a character and using a particular voice. So she could be the wolf, or I could be the pigs, or she could choose a particular character. That would tell me a lot about in terms of storytelling if she understood that she's not Ella anymore, she's a wolf. A Vygotskian concept around children and their imagination. So to be able to no longer be Ella and be a wolf, that's a developmental process because they actually need to be able to understand that, oh, I'm someone different, I'm taking on a role. And so I did a plan, like a kind of a semi-lesson plan for this activity where I made sure there was time and resources had all been planned out and I wasn't thinking on my feet. I was actually planning it out, and I had some prompting questions and I had identified some teaching strategies. For example, I was going to model to her but how I would take on a role. And then I had some plans around that sustained shared thinking. If she was able to take on a role, how I could sustain that imaginative play by being able to respond back to her in that shared imaginary situation. I then developed that into the next activity, storytelling with puppets. And again, because the end goal was show and tell presentation type thing, this was more of a soft version of that. The last thing that we did is kind of like a little mini world of the 3 Little Pigs in Lego. In this activity, it was about the arts and crafts around in relation to creating the world. But then we built on that by telling the story using the world that Ella created. So that they were the kind of the 3 experiences that I planned based on trying to get Ella, trying to support her in developing those storytelling skills.
I like the way, based on those observations and the analysis, there were then some initial learning experiences planned. I wanted to point out that those learning experiences didn't take over the whole program. They were just individual types of one-off learning experiences. So it didn't mean that the whole thing about storytelling or the 3 Little Pigs took over the whole entire program for the children. And I wanted to point out they were still really play-based and quite open-ended. And while there was a little bit of structure to them, it was the way Ella engaged with them sort of shaped how they evolved. And her engagement was quite open-ended and really, like I said, in that play-based kind of way. And that you had thought about the strategies that you were going to use as a teacher prior to in the planning stage of that process. So you had, before you did it with Ella and the other children, you were thinking about what your role was going to be as the teacher and documenting those strategies that you were going to use, what questions you were going to ask, how you were going to, when you were going to take it, what role you were going to take in it, when you were going to be involved in the play and when you were going to step away. So thinking about all those things in that planning stage and making sure they're documented in your learning experience plan.
Yes, because it's so often you get, I'm glad I did that, because there's so many things you need and you often don't remember till you're in there if you haven't done the thinking through properly first. So I don't think the experiences would have actually developed into what they did if I hadn't have had it all prepared.
And also, sorry, one more thing, thinking about because we're talking about a small group or a larger group of children, thinking about how you might differentiate your teaching and your strategies and your the plan for various children within the group too.